Hi class, Jolene here. We're going to take a look at the work of previous students on the seed packet or seed package. For us this semester it's lesson 2. You're going to see lesson 3 at the top of these and in the file names and so forth. In previous semesters it was lesson 3, so you can ignore that part. Anyway, I want to show you some things that work well and not so well with about a dozen previous student works. So you can see here we've got a good brainstorm list going of fruits and vegetables, flowers, and then the out of the ordinary things. And this is a good example of out of the ordinary things. Demon seeds, monster seeds, fairy seeds, poison seeds. So these are just ideas, remember? Just getting some ideas down on paper and then start exploring them in your roughs. This is a good example of roughs. There's good variation here. Lots of organic shapes being created with the pen tool, which is what you're going to be doing. But what I don't see, here's more variation or more just other objects, but make sure that you create several variations of each object. For instance, make about 6 different objects like a strawberry and then create variations of that same strawberry. Do it in different ways, different styles. Let's take a look at the comps for this one. There's a good thing and a bad thing about this one. The good thing is that this student did exactly what they were supposed to do, make 2 different comps using the same artwork. In this case, it's dragon seeds, and we've got 2 different compositions here. That's good, but the reason this type looks like it has a pink background behind it is because this student did not create outlines on their type. So this is just raw type here. And so when I open it, or when a printer opens it, or a coworker opens it, or a fellow student opens it, you get the idea. If the original did not create outlines on the type, it just turns it into some other kind of type that like Myriad Pro or something like that. So we don't see how it was designed. Now if I go into Bridge and take a look at it here where the files are, I can see what the type was supposed to look like, because in Bridge I just see a thumbnail in it in my preview panel. So that's what the student intended. Now going back to Illustrator here, you can see what a difference it makes when the correct font's not chosen, because remember, the font is a big part of your design. Here's the final for this student. This is pretty good, but it looks like maybe they didn't put in their 1/4-inch guides around the edges, and so all this type is a little close to the edge. The other thing this student did that was good is they kind of used hierarchy with the type. In other words, the word season and directions are a different color, so it kind of guides our eye there. But this is pretty hard to read, pretty difficult to read, and it's also very crowded. What I mean by crowded is my eye is very confused. It doesn't know where to go. There's no spacing between the headline and here. Don't be afraid of white space. Make the type smaller. It doesn't need to be this large. You don't need to fill up the space just because it's there. Let's take a look at another one. Okay, we've got roughs, not a lot of roughs, so I would expect to see more variation in the different elements, and also more of each thing. Like, let's see this orange slice or an orange done several different ways. This is part of the roughs process. This is a really good example of 2 comps, both for apple seeds. It has all the required elements. Let me zoom in here. I have too many things open. Now zooming too much. So there's a good look at those two comps. Both for apple seeds. Honeycrisp is the name of the variety. That's a required element. Here's the price on both of them. Those are required. That's a required element. It's done in two different ways. The tree is presented in a slightly different way. This is the unique descriptor right here. One a day keeps the doctor away. Over here, the unique descriptor is 90%, 99% worm-free. We've got the name of the company. So this has the company that made the seeds. This has all the elements. One thing I'd like to note on this one that could be improved, this little piece of type right here, it's too close to the edge of this rectangle. So if we nudge it up, I'm using my arrow key, nudge it up and nudge it to the left a little bit. Now we've created some white space or negative space. When I say white space, I don't mean literally white space. I mean space around an object. In this case, it's the type. So that frees it up from being locked in down there. And here's the final for this one. A couple of things I want you to notice about this. This is a nice job on the hierarchy of the type. Steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are bold and set apart so that it's easy for our eye to see this at a glance. Lots of nice negative or white space around each one of these elements. So our eye is not darting all over the place looking for what we should be looking at. The other thing I want you to notice about this is that the tabs, this is what would, if this was going to be printed out, these pieces right here are the tabs, and that's what would be folded inside. And then the package glued. These tabs should be the same color as the background color. So when they're folded, that color folds inside. So don't do what this person did and switch to another color here for the tab. No. Actually, I take that back. They created a strip of lighter green right down here. And so this is the way to do it because this green matches that. So when this tab is folded in, it matches what's on the bottom here. Here's another one where I would say that there should be a lot more experimentation in the roughs. You should see a lot more roughs here. This is a good example of two different comps using the same object, which are these orchids. See all the required elements are here. The name of the seed, the variety of the seed, the price, the name of the company. Actually, the one element missing from this is the unique descriptor. And this is the final. You see here the tabs are all the same color as the color in the center, so that works really well. Another good example of two comps, both of asparagus, but two different compositions. This is what I mean by a unique descriptor. Gorgeous color, sweet, mild flavor. This is the name of the seed, asparagus. This is the variety, purple passion. This is the name of the company, and this is the price. So this one has all 5 required elements. And this is the final for that one. So here they used this same design, but a silhouette of it, and put some of the directions inside that. Here's another one. This person did something out of the ordinary. They started off with these organic shapes and then switched to lens seeds. Very unusual. This is done really well. 2 different compositions. This would be the unique descriptor. When you choose something out of the ordinary, it makes it a little bit more of a challenge to come up with the all 5 elements that you need, because it's not as easy. You have to think of them yourself. You need to come up with them. And this is the final. There's nothing wrong with the back of this package being sort of not empty, but there's not a lot of stuff on it. That's okay. You don't need to crowd it up. This is very readable. Here's another one. The students started gravitating towards marijuana plants, marijuana seeds. Did a really nice job on the comps. Has all the elements it's supposed to have. And then this is the final where they used a little chart there for the planting instructions and even some little graphics there. You don't need to go this far, but this is done quite professionally. This one's not working so well. I want to bring it to your attention because in order to get the full points for two completely designed fronts of the package, the comps, this one is completely designed, but this one is not. It's like they decided, okay, I like this one, so I'm just going to quit at this point, or I've run out of time, and I've moved it over here, and then I'm going to start working on the rest. That's fine if you run out of time, but understand that you're not going to get full points for these two completed comps. It's a good one of out of the ordinary seeds. These are for, what did she call them? Zombinias. So it's like a zombie and a zinnia flower together. Pretty good job on the comps, but again, not going to get full points for these because there's several of the required elements are missing from these comps. There's the final. It looks like the final is missing the name of the company and also the unique descriptor. Because in this case, this is the name of the seeds and this is the name of the variety. So while it looks really good, not going to get full points because it's missing elements. This is a pretty good job on the comps, but it's good in that there's two different kinds of type of fonts used. That's nice, but they're both in the same place. The illustration in the center is in the exact same place. Like to see more variation in the placement of each of the elements. And this is the final. This is another way of doing a chart, just using lines to separate things and then putting the type in there. You see lots of negative space here. My eye's not going crazy trying to figure out where to look. It's a nice, calm design. All right, there's a couple of problems with this one, the final on this one. One is the fact that this type is really difficult to read. And the reason is because there's not enough contrast. Look what happens if I change this color to, for instance, white. Look how much easier that is to read. Black on top of blue is not enough contrast. So make sure you take contrast into consideration. Also, these tabs should not just be left white. They should be made the color of the rest of the design so that when they're folded over, we don't see a line of demarcation here. This one is an example of maybe too much white space or negative space. This is missing. The back is not fully designed. There's no headline. This is just placed haphazardly. It's not in the center. Well, maybe they wanted it to be flush left here. Maybe if there was a headline here, but it's just not finished. It's just not designed. This is a good example of using typographic hierarchy. We've got these three headlines that are bold and all uppercase, so they're different from the rest of the types. So our eye easily goes to start indoors, transplant, burritos, very easy to read and plenty of white space. So that's a look at some previous student work for Lesson 2 seed packets.